even having a sincere interaction in most of our lives, because there's addiction after addiction after addiction after addiction after addiction in play, right? And this is why it's so important to deal with addictions, because you're not being your real self acting in this manner. You're being yourself that actually needs all this stuff from everyone else outside of you. If we can have a mic up there. Is the mics around still? One from here? Thanks. That's all right.
So, for example, if we're in a room of people and we notice an addiction rising, to stop that from being projected onto the world, how, and still maintaining some sort of social
equilibrium. Yeah. Let's firstly dispel a false thing in what you've just said. Firstly, you can't stop your addictions from being projected onto the world. They are automatically projected onto the world because you have them. The only way you can stop the addiction from being projected onto the world is by going through a process inside of yourself that causes the addiction to be released. Once it's released, it will not be projected onto the world. So I can have this addiction inside of my soul. I walk into the room and I'm going, please don't feel that addiction. Please don't feel that addiction. And the truth is, I can't stop the addiction from being projected in that state. Right? The only way I can actually physically stop the addiction from being projected is to actually release it. Now it won't be projected. And I won't even have to worry about it being projected either. But there is a series of levels of awarenesses that we can go through that reduces the addiction being projected. And let's look at those. The first level is total denial of the addiction. When you're in a place of total denial of the addiction, that's when your addiction is getting projected the most. So everybody in sundry is feeling it. You know, your family, your friends, everybody. Many people on the opposite side of the world who are connected to you will be feeling it, by the way. It's just going out of you in this total denial place. The next step down from them is my saying, I'm in denial about this addiction. Just my awareness of the denial of the addiction will actually lessen the projection to everyone else. Do you see? And as I step down into more and more awareness and eventually step down into the emotion of the addiction, and eventually when I clear the emotional addiction completely, that's when I have no influence on anybody else with that addiction. And in between the top level, which is the total denial of the addiction intellectually or emotionally, and the bottom level, which is the actual full release of the addiction, in between that state, I'm going to be in various places at any one point in time. And my law of attraction will tell me what place I'm in. So let's say I walk into a room, right, and every woman in the place looks at me and glares at me. Right? There must be some kind of addiction I've got going out of me that causes every woman in the place to automatically feel angry with me, and I need to allow myself to feel my way through that emotion. Now, what I'll try to do often is I'll try to avoid that result of that law of attraction. So what I'll do is I go up to the first woman who's angry with me and, try to cheer her up. But trying to cheer her up is not going to work because she's still feeling the emotion that created that instant response in her, inside of herself, that came from me. And I need to feel what that emotion was. So I got this instant anger. What did I feel? All the women hate my guts, and I felt angry with all the women there. So my emotion might have been anger with all these women. And I'm addicted to being angry with women. I want to be angry with women. Women are this, women are that, women are this. And when I get with my mates, it's women are this, women are that, women are this. And when I've got the opportunity to abuse a woman, I take it, and there could be all those kind of things going on for me. And I need to allow myself to say, all right, I am addicted to my rage with women. I love being angry with women. I like to blame women all the time. That level of awareness, just that first step, is actually going to reduce my projection at the women. Just my acknowledgement that I have that in me reduces it by that one step. So the principle that I'm trying to get at is that if you allow yourself to even just acknowledge the addiction intellectually, you are automatically now projecting the addiction less to your environment. And the more you go down and step down into the awareness about the addiction, the less the less the projection becomes. You can experiment with this if you want. You know, it's quite interesting actually once you start experimenting with these kind of emotions. You can start acknowledging the addiction and seeing how people change in their interaction with you while you're having a conversation. You'll be totally surprised. Like, you feel, oh, this man's really angry with me. It feels like, all right, there's something inside of me that I'm demanding of him at the moment, you know, and you start acknowledging, all right, there's something I demand. And while you're feeling these emotions, you'll actually start noticing a change in the person's interaction with you, ironically. Like, it's just amazing. It's instant by instant that this happens. So allow yourself to experiment with that. You can enjoy this process, right? And of experimenting rather than feeling like it's a terrible chore. And allow yourself to get into the underlying emotions. Now, when you do that, what will happen is you'll go through a scales of getting fully into your emotional reasons why you have the addiction. Obviously, the best possible place is to remove the addiction completely from your core emotion. That's the best possible place. But that place is going to need processing some emotion about it, what's underneath it, and all those kind of things, some core emotions, maybe from your childhood, or some today expectations that weren't getting met that you need to grieve, will release that emotionally. Now, in the situation, you may not be able to do that. But you can acknowledge that you need to do that. You can even get out a pen if you want and have a pad with you and write it down. That's something I can deal with later even. You can do that. Or you can decide to walk outside in that moment and deal with it then and there. It's really up to you. Now, a lot of people say, though, that what I'm saying to them isn't practical in real life situation. I would put to you, though, that actually everything that I'm saying is totally practical in real life situations. You can actually, even in the room, deal with the addiction completely, right? You can do that. But you're going to get a lot of projection from others doing it. And we're afraid of the projection from others, are we not? And so that's why we step out of that. So not only do I now need to note down the original addiction, I need to note down the other addiction that I need everyone's approval to deal with the original addiction before I deal with it. And that's just another addiction that I have that I need to deal with. Now, what often happens there is I go away and I realise and I work my way through the underlying emotions of why I need everyone's approval so much. And once I work my way through that emotion, then it's going to be much easier for me when I'm in the situation to actually deal with the original addiction. Does that make sense? And when I allow that to occur, then everything will happen quite smoothly. So